Welcome to our podcast. This is Friends on Fire.
I'm Mike. I'm a lifelong devotee of financial independence. I even wrote a book about it.
And I'm Maggie, a newer convert, but just as passionate, especially on the intersection of minimalism and financial independence.
We're one and the same.
We are two like-minded friends who believe that talking about money with your friends and family opens the door to financial well-being.
The Friends on Fire podcast is about dispelling myths, building financial acumen, and sharing your financial independence journey with the people you care about.
This is Friends on Fire.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Maggie.
How's it going?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. It's Friday.
Love Fridays.
I actually really like Thursdays also now because I don't work on Thursdays. And then I come back to work for one day on Fridays.
Yeah. Actually, all my days are kind of the same. It's not like I have like great weekend plans to look forward to.
Yeah, but you get some extra family time on the weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
Little less commitments. Okay, I got a random question to get us started, and then we're going to jump into our show topic.
Random question from a listener or for me? From you?
From Maggie.
Oh, okay.
But I am a listener, so that counts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't really even look at my utility bills half the time. I get an email telling me, what our automation episode should have told you that. But I do get an email telling me that, my bills come and it gets auto drafted.
Actually, I took a look at your power bill one time and it wasn't a statement. It just said, "Are you sure your family isn't uncomfortable in this heat?"
Well, we've been very comfortable last month because we got the largest power bill we have ever gotten. I went back and looked at our history. It was $200, which first off, I realized to some people Price Avocado Toast sometimes will share the cost of utilities in California. And it's insane. So everything's relative. And my house, when I did a remodel 10 years ago, my house is pretty energy efficient. So I've got straight spray foam insulation and newer windows and all this stuff. So, and zoned heating and air, et cetera. But the point is, last year, that same power bill was, God, I have to look at do the actual math of the percentage, but was at least 30+% lower. I've never had a power bill really over $150. So this is a huge increase. It has been particularly hot in Atlanta. And my question for you is was your power bill last month unusually high? And it's not that my husband was asking questions. He was did the cost of power go up? And I was no, our kilowatt usage went up and it's higher than it's ever been before. And he was well, we're all working from home. And I was yeah, but we were last August. So I'm comparing it to last August, we're in the beginning of August. So this is basically a July bill.
Mm-hmm.
And we were also all home at the same amounts and rates. And so year over year, it's significantly higher. It's way higher than last month.
Okay, let me take a look. So your question is mine higher year over year?
And I think this is a good reminder of people. This is why people should talk about money. So the second I see a $200 power bill, I was about to go out on my neighborhood listserv and be am I the only one who had a ridiculous power bill last month? But then I was oh, we're recording tomorrow. So I'll just ask Mike.
You're not going to believe this.
What?
Actually, I think this is going to make a total sense to you. When I look at last year's bill that I paid in July, which is the most recent bill I have this year, it was $131.47. This year's July bill is $131.28.
Wow. That is impressively consistent.
Consistent lifestyle. I pride myself on it. Now, my August bill, which has not yet generated for this year, last year was $200. So I think it's just seasonal heating and rates of energy.
And but that's the thing is mine didn't spike last year. And so maybe there's something off on the billing cycles. And I haven't last year, the month I was looking at wasn't fully comparable or something. But I just was shocked. I was telling my husband, I was he was well, we've been running this dehumidifier that takes a lot of we just have some moisture issues in our basement. And I was yeah, you think, that's taking $50 a month in power?
No, I run humidifiers all the time too, and they don't take that much.
Okay. Well, it's more of just the comparable of last year at that time, we were not running a humidifier. That was the only thing he could think of that was different.
I think it's probably more likely that you're looking at the two different months year over year.
I mean, they're the ones comparing it. Like it's in their bill that they're comparing it to the kilowatt usage the same time period last month.
Really?
So it wasn't even, I mean, I would expect a human error on my end. I expect more from Georgia Power. Well, I don't know if I should expect more from Georgia Power, but okay. Well, I just thought I would ask because I was, for a minute I was like, man, these kids think they're hot now. I just got a $200 power bill. It is going to be a hot weekend in our house. Mm-hmm. It is unusual. I think it's a little hotter this year in Atlanta than it was last year. I don't remember this many 90-degree days last year. Do you?
I think it's been pretty temperate actually this year.
Oh my gosh, it's been do you go outside every day? Hold on.
Like Atlanta, in the mornings.
July temperatures.
See, I am outside before you're even awake, and then by the time you're awake and running, I stop going outside.
Well, I think because you get up so early, you don't experience
I think it's great.
I'm going to do some research after that. I'm not going to make our listeners deal with this any more than they already have.
Right. But then we are way into an episode about something other than
I'm going to do some research on the temperatures in Atlanta this year. I'm going to get to the bottom of this mystery. Just you trust me. Okay?
I think that's a great use of your time.
We will. That is a very good point. This is a terrible use of my time and I should just pay the bill and move on. The bill's already been paid. Okay.
All right. What is this episode actually about?
So this episode is all about gift economies and buy nothing groups and some, related topics. Do you know have you heard the term gift economy, Mike?
I have not, but buy nothing groups I'm very familiar with.
Yes, I know you are. And your wife has told me about them before too.
She's sort of a pro.
I think she is. I think she's one of the people who got me inspired about using them. I'd kind of heard of them. I knew they were around. But I think a specific conversation with her one time at your house is what actually got me to joining one a while back. Okay. So let's just talk about the term gift economy, because I do think it is a perhaps new term to some people. So a gift economy, or sometimes you might hear people call it a gift culture. It's basically just the idea of exchanging items that have a value by giving them away instead of them being sold, right? So when you think about economies and how they work, they involve the sale and transfer of goods for different prices and values. And a gift economy is let's not worry about an exchange of money. Let's just give things knowing that we'll also get things at different times. And so the idea is you're not expecting anything specific. You're just saying, I'm going to and we'll talk about buy nothing groups more specifically in a minute, because they're a very specific example of a gift economy at work. But you just, I know a lot of people who give their friends or family old clothes from their kids when someone has a kid that's younger than them. I do that to you, Mike, right? I give you. Actually, we have a gift economy. And this isn't even a bartering thing. I happen to give you a lot of our old clothes. Because your girls are a couple years younger than my girls. And so it's a perfect sort of time to hand them down. And sometimes you give me soap, which isn't a bartering, right? But I give you those clothes with no expectation of anything in return. That is a gift economy, right? And I know that you're then going to give those clothes to someone else, right? And I know there's people who have given me clothes, right? And so that's the spirit of a gift economy, is I'm not expecting anything in return. I'm just giving something that has, no longer has use to me. I'm finding someone else to give it to.
Now, I don't want to derail the conversation immediately, but I do want to point out that you have now started to, in these packages of clothing, which I very much appreciate, including stuff that you don't want, but I also don't want, and I've told you I don't want.
We put little surprises in there.
Yeah, little surprises that you want to get out of your house, and then you make me get out of my house as well. So
the last surprise I put in that pile of clothes, you weren't there, so we just left it on your front stoop. The last surprise was something we tried to get rid of in a buy nothing group and nobody would take it. It was actually kind of it was a really nice frame, like a professional frame, but it was this hand-drawn.
Oh, it's terrible.
Picture. It was a piece of art. It doesn't matter what it was. Anyways, but we bought it at some auction years ago, and it was one of my husband's coworkers or something. I don't think they're listening to this, but it wasn't even a close coworker, but it was just something really random. And anyways, yes, we've been, that's my new thing, is you get a little surprise every time. Mm-hmm. That's part of a gift economy. Yeah. You never know what you're going to be gifted.
Right. I drove it to Goodwill and dropped it off.
That's nice. Thanks for giving it a ride.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. Please continue with your episode.
So that's kind of what a gift economy is. Hopefully that makes sense to people. It's just, throwing the word economy on there is because it is different than the economy that we're all used to. So let's run through. We're going to get into how you take part in and become a part of this gift economy. But let's first just run through really quick benefits of why a gift economy is such an amazing thing to become a part of. Because if it isn't already clear, we're proponents of pushing for more of a gift economy and making it a part of your life and lifestyle and your mindset, which we'll talk more about.
So I will read off a few of these on behalf of my wife, who participates in these and benefits from them. I do not. I let her manage it because she does a very good job. But a few key points here. You get to meet new people in your community. It feels really good to give and receive help, especially when you have something you don't need and you can find somebody who does need it. And it helps build better community because you have all of these people interacting and providing each other help. And I know these are the benefits that Britta really benefits from and why she continues to participate in this local gift economy.
Yeah, and I'm going to share some fun items at the end from some things, just some like tidbits of the types of things you can get from these Buy Nothing groups. And some of them came from your wife and some of them came from a sort of best of request I put out in a Buy Nothing group. So stay tuned for that. Some of the other benefits are your items may actually last longer. So when you are, because we're not just talking about giving things, we're also talking about lending things. And when you have things that you very rarely use and that are mechanical items, they can actually go bad when they're not actively used. I think there's a lot there. Obviously, you can save a ton of money with this sort of mindset. From a obviously receiving standpoint, you're saving money on things. But again, it just feels good to give also. And then the last benefit of this is it's better for the environment. So if there's any part of you that is passionate about doing more things to help the environment, this is one of those, a big meaningful thing you can do, because less consumption creates less wasted items, less things going to the landfill. And speaking of that, Mike, I thought it'd be fun to just share a few consumption stats to just inspire people of why it's so important for us to buy fewer things and take used things from other people, lend things to other people, et cetera, and just consume less, because we really are on this kind of crazy consumption pattern, particularly as Americans in the US.
And so all of these stats were verified by the internet. And so no need to source them.
Where we come from, all of our stuff. Did you know that 25% of people with 2-car garages do not have room to park their cars inside them?
This does not surprise me at all. I see this in my neighborhood all the time.
Yeah. And 32% only have room for one vehicle. I like to know where people get this research and stats from. But like we said, the internet, we don't really question the sources. We're just sharing the data.
It has to be true.
I'm sure it's true based on our anecdotal observation of our neighbors. Point is, everybody has way too much stuff in their garage and they can lend it to you or give it to you or vice versa, because it's full of things that they often don't need or use.
So a couple things about kids' toys, which I can verify. British research has found that the average 10-year-old owns 238 toys, but plays with just 12 of them daily. Not surprising.
I can verify that in my house also.
And 3.1% of the world's children live in America, but they own 40% of the toys consumed globally. Also, not shocking.
Yeah, and toys is an interesting one, because a lot of the things that we're going to talk about in terms of opportunities to take part in a gift economy is with children's toys and stuff that you only need for a period of time in your life, and are great to give and get used and or even borrow in some cases. Okay, the average American family spends $1,700 on clothes annually. This reminds me of our mid-year expense review, and I want to talk about it. Okay. While the average American throws away 65 pounds of clothes per year. There's a big issue with clothes in landfill. So I really love buying used clothes and selling clothes so that other people get used clothes. Like it makes me happy. It feels like, things are staying out of landfills and we're just, creating less consumption in the world.
All of this is going on while nearly half of American households don't have any money saved. And so care about the waste, care about the environment, but this is also a personal finance show. And so this is a big change that you can make in your life if you want to improve your finances.
So let's shift to actually talking about how you can become a part of this gift economy. And, we'll talk about Buy Nothing groups and then some other ways, and just some kind of tips and thoughts about how you can best take part in this. Again, to save money first and foremost, but well, actually, I don't even want to say first and foremost, because when we went through all those reasons, there's a reason I put money at the end of it. I think there's a lot of benefits that come in front of that, but there's I think the point about how, nearly half of American households don't save any money is critical. So this is a really helpful way to save money. Okay, first one, most obvious, and what we kind of mentioned a couple of times is look for and join a buy nothing group, Facebook group in your area. These probably exist just about everywhere based on my experience. And to look for one, and to be clear, we're saying buy nothing, like BUY, so do not buy anything. That's why they're called buy nothing. There are people who are committed to giving and receiving and avoiding buying stuff, again, for financial reasons, for environmental reasons, many reasons. So you can go into Facebook, you can go into the group section of Facebook, you can actually search groups and you can type in buy nothing and you will see different groups in your area. Most buy nothing groups have rules that you can only join one. They're community and adjacency based. So the goal is to join one that's in your area, not to join one that's 30 miles away from you. These are neighbors helping neighbors and they want it to be convenient to pick things up and everything else. So you want to look for the one that is closest to you. If you live in a more rural area, it may be that there's a much bigger footprint of the kind of the mileage of that buy nothing group. Most of them, there's like a little application form. They're free to join, but they ask you some questions because they want to validate that you're in the area, you understand the rules and how it works. They all have some sort of administrator managing them, but go in and join a Facebook group. The other thing with that, in addition to that, and we'll talk about how to use those groups, but in addition to that, look for and join other parenting and neighborhood groups in your area, because the buy nothing groups are thoughtfully set up specifically for this gift economy mindset and approach. But I'm a member of probably 6 or 7 different groups in my area. There's one for our small immediate neighborhood. There's one that's like our pool neighborhood and association. There's specifically a parenting group that's in like our neighborhood and a couple of surrounding neighborhoods. There's just a bunch of them, and they're basically like your neighbors and community. People are often selling things on them, especially the parenting one. That's a very common thing. That's like 90% of what people are doing is often selling things on them. It's called like a parent exchange for my neighborhood. I think there's one in your neighborhood too, Mike. I've seen one. I've seen ones for Dunwoody come up when I search. So you
sounds
can go
like you might already be a part of it.
I'm not, but you can join those in other neighborhoods if you want to drive. I think those also are trying to get you to you should be in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. The goal is not to like go join one of some like really affluent neighborhood, 20 miles away and hope to get all their stuff. But the point is, it's not just buy nothing Facebook groups. There are Facebook groups around your area, neighborhood, and community. And many people are doing lending of things on those groups. And they're selling and looking for things. So you'll see people who will post and say, hey, I've got a family member coming in town this week who has 2 young kids. I just need to borrow a car seat for 24 hours. And I'll see, 10 people raise their hand and say, hey, yeah, you're welcome. We have an extra one. You're welcome to borrow it for the weekend. Right. And so there's just all sorts of things that are done to kind of neighbors helping neighbors on those Facebook groups. And I think they're incredibly valuable, and they're a big part of the gift economy.
And in addition to asking to borrow things, like it is very common for people to go in and make requests of like super random stuff, because if you think about all the things in your house, even though you might not go through it and give it away, there is stuff you can identify very quickly that you don't really need. And so what Britta does very frequently is I'll say like, this thing needs to be replaced, or this is broken, or we should consider getting this. And she'll be like, well, let me ask the buy nothing group or the neighborhood Facebook page. And she will go in and be like, we are looking for a 32-inch diameter fire pit insert if anybody has one. And people like come up with this stuff.
Yeah.
And so participation in these programs should, by habit, become one of the first things that you check before you go and buy something. And you can just ask yourself some questions like, do you need to buy it new? Is it important that you have the warranty? And, could a used one satisfy your needs? And is it likely that somebody else has already bought this? And 99% of the time, it's going to be, yes, somebody else has this within 2 miles of my house.
Another question, Mike, is do I need to own this thing forever, or could I just borrow it, right? Is it just something that I need to borrow for the weekend and I can give it right back to someone? The point is, before you buy anything, consider leveraging the gift economy first, right? Or lending, borrowing things, right? Because that is kind of a different piece of the gift economy. I think another tip with this too, and it's kind of related, I think, to the example you gave, Mike, with your wife, is sometimes with this, you do need to think ahead and be patient. So this method could take you a little bit longer than just going to Amazon and having it be at your house tomorrow. So sometimes you might want to just, again, just think ahead and be patient, right? And so it could be that someone has something immediately, or it could be that you put a post out there that you're in search of something, and a week later somebody replies to it.
But this is also just a very good point about spending money in general, that if
Yes.
you need something immediately, you're going to pay a premium for it. And if you are willing to wait or buy it via a different method, you're going to be able to find a much better deal. So developing a little bit of patience in your purchases. And it's kind of related to one of the recommendations you made in a previous episode. I don't remember what we were talking about, but it was basically like put some distance, some time in between your decision to buy something and when you actually buy it. And so with this example, you might actually decide that you need something. You wait 30 days for something to come up on a buy nothing group. And then you're like, actually, I don't need it anymore. Yeah. And you've saved yourself.
Yeah, it's true. The other thing, in addition to these buy nothing groups and all these Facebook groups, also just think about your friends and family, and, like good old fashioned texting someone or calling someone, right? It doesn't have to be, more people in your community that you don't know directly. And so when you need something, and again, especially for borrowing stuff, it's even easier to borrow stuff from friends and family. Don't assume you have to buy it, right? Consider sharing things with your friends and family. My brother and I have been using the same pressure washer for 10 years. I'm not sure it would be called sharing because it was his pressure washer and it mostly lives at my house. And sometimes he asked to borrow it. And I'm like, hey, it's not borrowing, dude. It's your pressure washer. You bought it. I just never give it back to you. But there's plenty of things that, he borrows from me. So it's just remember your friends and family are another great resource, and you do not have to own something yourself. I use a tent about once every 2 years, Mike, maybe once a year. If my brother wants to borrow my tent, that's great. He doesn't need to go buy a tent.
And one of our final points, separate from the financial aspect of this, and this is something that I've really understood and learned to value from watching Britta participate in these programs, is that giving and participating in the program by giving away your items can be extremely valuable and rewarding. So it helps you declutter. It simplifies your life. If you are pursuing a minimalist lifestyle, this is a great way to do it. But you are also providing a service to your community. If people are in need of something for 24 hours or to borrow it for a week, or they have something that needs repair on their house and you are able to help them, that feels really good. And so saving money aside, you should participate in this because I think you'll feel good about it in the end.
Yeah. And it's not just about getting, it's about giving, right? And so I've heard some really interesting things that I could not source in any way, Mike, about how much stuff that goes to like Goodwill and other consignment thing or donation centers actually gets thrown away.
Well, I'm confident that that piece of art that you and Greg gave me that I dropped off at Goodwill made it into the trash.
I hope somebody at least reused the frame, but
No,
maybe not.
pretty sure they just threw that away. They were like, nobody's going to buy this at our store. Trash.
I feel sad nobody wants it. And then last point, if all else fails on the above methods we've talked about, and you really need something, before you buy it, consider renting it or trying to find it used, because those are still things that are going to save you money and just cut down on consumption overall. Okay, I got some fun, really just quick closing things, Mike, that we're going to share.
All right, let's do it.
On a Buy Nothing group that I'm a part of, I had the idea to do this episode, and I was like, I need some help with content. What's some of the craziest things you've like given or received on here, and some kind of fun stories. And then I also asked your wife that because I know she does a lot. So I'll just share a couple of these, not too much. So I'll start with your wife's, because I kind of asked her like, what are like some of the most valuable, most interesting, like awesome things that she's received. And she said your backyard play structure, which I've seen, it's pretty legit. And I've actually seen people giving away play structures where they're like, if you come and take it apart and move it, it's yours. They just want it out of their yard.
Yeah.
Did you have to move that?
Oh, yeah. Because Britta was pregnant at the time. So she was like, hey, I found this. I need you to go take it. And I had to go deconstruct it, haul it piece by piece back to our house, and then like put new like concrete footings and install it.
Nice. You put some sweat equity into it. Nice
big
job.
project.
Well done. So it wasn't exactly quote free, but no.
It's free
but
for
it was,
her.
Right? Yeah. Also, she said she also gets a lot of hand-me-down clothing also, especially school uniforms for the kids, which I didn't know your kids wear school uniforms. So that's awesome. I do see people frequently in our neighborhood too posting things about uniforms to get reused. She said she also got a Kindle Fire once, which was awesome. So you can get some like people give away some really, really good stuff. And again, it inspires me to do the same. And give things up. Okay. The craziest thing I heard, I'm not going to cover all the things I heard, but the craziest thing I heard when I asked this in my neighborhood, and then I found the post myself, was that somebody gave away a half-eaten, this is on a Buy Nothing group, offered up a half-eaten rotisserie chicken.
Interesting.
And let me just read you the actual post because I found it. This was during COVID. Also, this was during COVID.
Oh my God.
And the person who sent it to me was like, I mean, COVID or no COVID, who wants a half-eaten anything from a stranger? She was like, this is by far the weirdest thing I've ever seen. So here's the thing. You use the term gifting on Buy Nothing groups to let people know you're giving something away versus like that you're seeking something. And so someone said, gifting the remains of a roasted Sam's chicken. Sam's is a store in our area, by the way, or around the U.S. Most of the white meat is gone, but there's still plenty of chicken remaining. I hate throwing it out. I bought it Tuesday, so it is still fresh. Makes great casseroles, meals, and soup. Prefer it goes to food needy. I'm not laughing at the last part. That was a nice comment, but
it's so strange.
It is very strange. It is a little odd. And this was in the middle of the COVID pandemic, sort of at the height of it, based on the timing when I looked it up. Okay. Anyways, we'll leave the point about the half-eaten rotisserie chicken because that's not what should inspire you about becoming part of.
Yeah, we're ending on kind of a weak
gift
point
economy.
here, Maggie.
Yeah. Also, well, another fun one that someone told me is they went to go pick up some free guppies and they ended up with another pet turtle. They said she's like, Mama had another weak moment and it needed rescuing, so they ended up with some free guppies and a new turtle. Okay, let's do our top 3 takeaways, Mike. Number 1. Fostering a gift economy mindset has so many benefits, the least important of which might be that it saves you money. It just has so many amazing things that it can do.
And to take advantage of this, number 2, search for and then join a Buy Nothing group or a neighborhood parenting group and start participating.
Yeah. And then the last thing is number 3, start giving away things that you don't need anymore into the Buy Nothing groups right away. Right. So the next time you have something, just start by giving and eventually you will also get and receive something that you really need. And we didn't say it, Mike, but you can on these Buy Nothing groups, and I should have stated this because if you're new to them, you may not realize this. You can gift things. You can, when people post and gift things themselves, you can then tag on it and say, hey, I want that. But also you can actually say, I'm looking for. So you gave the example of I'm looking for a fire pit insert. I just think it's important to note that. So you can actually request things also, which is an important note. So on that end, I hope this has been a helpful discussion for people and just kind of changes your own mindset about the idea of consumption and how we get the things that we need and want to live and be happy and support ourselves and our families.
So thanks everybody for listening. If you've been challenged or inspired by what you've heard, please rate and review the show. You can also subscribe to make sure you never miss an episode.
If you have any thoughts or questions, we would love to hear from you, and you can leave us a voicemail or text us at 404-981-3370, or you can hit us up on Instagram.
All right. Thanks, Maggie. This was fun.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. I'm going to go see if anyone claimed that chicken.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.